have any questions about the game so far? The content that we put in there last time we played it? Anything that we didn't address when we first met with y'all? Okay, great. So there are two things you're doing with the game when you're over there. Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah. What's up?
How do we look back and see which player won which game and kind of like track it?
You have to track that manually.
You track it manually.
Yeah, you have to track that manually.
The game will tell you who won.
Yeah, we'll tell you who won,
Right.
and then we'll forget once
Then
you
we track
it.
it.
Yeah, exactly. So you're doing two things while you're using the game during the summer camp. You are using it as a pedagogical tool to help the students understand some of the concepts that we're teaching them. And you'll be testing the game for us and collecting test data for us. So as part of that, has anybody completed their CUI's training yet? We mentioned it briefly last time we met with you. You probably haven't done it, and that's okay. Do you have anything you want to say about CUI's?
Yes, which is I would like to ask you guys to do it by April 15th, so by next Friday. Takes about 2 hours. You do it online. You go to the MIT CUI's site, and they have a training portal, and you just click the link, and it walks you right through it.
It's not hard. It just takes 2 hours.
It's not hard. It's a whole lot of reading. And on any of the quizzes, if you fail the quiz when you take it, it promptly lets you take it again. So you just do it until you get the right answers and you get the 90% required score to pass. And it's mostly just remembering a lot of their tricky word phrases, to be honest. I have here sheets of paper that have sort of all of the details. These are not actually as useful as the PDF because the links, you can't click on the links in a piece of paper. So what I will probably do is actually get the mailing list and send this PDF to the mailing list. The reason I'm asking you to do it by April 15th is not because I'm a big meanie, but because it will be easiest for us if we can get our protocol written and submitted to the committee by April 28th, which is their deadline for their main meeting. And if we pass at their May meeting, then we don't worry. But if we don't pass at the May meeting, we can then revise it and hand it back to them in time for their June meeting, guaranteeing that even if we make a mistake on our initial submission, we will be covered by a protocol by the time we actually run. But in order to put your names on the protocol, I have to have you on the CUI's trained list, and it takes a couple of days for it to propagate through the system. So it's not just an arbitrary date. There's actually a lot of time backlog, so that's why we would like it done by next week. Here are pieces of paper that sort of cover exactly what I said, and I'll probably be sending this out on your email anyway. So, but if you'd like a piece of paper saying, hey, this is what you have to do, it's here. Unfortunately, the links are not very useful because, well, they're it's a piece of paper. You cannot get links to a piece of paper.
When you're looking at the syllabus, the draft schedule has gameplay and discussion on there as these hour blocks. We realize that is not enough for you to understand what you're actually going to be doing and what you want to do. So what we're asking you to do is we're going to play the game. Basically, we're going to play the game today with Caitlin, Sarah, and myself observing your play. Basically running it as if it were a test session. So one style of gameplay we're asking you to do is just have everyone play, observe how they play, take down some notes about what they're frustrated with, what they don't understand, and we'll have a more detailed protocol for you to actually run after we get it cleared through CUI's. We'll have one last meeting about that in early to mid-May. We're scheduling that with some time. After the last half hour of this session, we'll be talking about different strategies you can use to bring the game into the classroom. I'd actually like to have that as a discussion. So based on what you experience when you play the game right now, think of playing this now as how would I actually get students to play this in a classroom? What kind of questions would I want to ask them after they play? What kind of concepts do I think they'll get from this game? Okay. And we're going to be playing it in two different modes. So we're going to have a team of 4 and another team of 4. One team of 4 is going to be playing it networked. That means everyone gets one tablet. Hopefully it works. We're still getting all the bugs out of the network version of the game. The other group is going to play it like you did last time as passive play. There's been probably, 3 weeks worth of work playing this since you last
Primarily
played?
polish, making it easier to read, making things easier to view,
Yeah,
cleaning things up and cleaning up icons, and also simplifying and streamlining the gameplay a little bit.
yeah. And between now and the actual summer program, that's basically the kind of work we're still doing on it. It's largely polish, and it's really focused on, do you understand what you need to do in the game? Not so much, do we need to change major gameplay things to make it more realistic or more simulation-y? That's not the kind of changes we're prepared to make. Okay, so let's get a team of 4. 3 right here, a 4th.
We got 3 here, and
One.
are we missing one person?
Yeah, we're missing one person.
Okay.
Okay.
I can play. I'm gonna be busy. I can still. But I can't do play.
Do I have a volunteer to play?
Have you never played this? You had to leave early.
Yeah, you might have left early. So how about you play with the 3 of them?
Okay.
And I'll set you all here. And I'll observe, you will play.
I'd
Caitlin, if you
like
want
to
observe.
not do the first player, because the first player kind of sets.
Wait, I think the first thing, so. Okay.
Okay, so hold on to this and don't press anything yet.
Alright. Would you like to be the brave volunteer to go first? Alright.
Okay, don't press anything yet.
Feel free to say, I don't understand what's going on the screen. Help me understand it.
What do you added farmers market? I remember seeing that one.
There's been a complete change of names. We've done a significant name change. Past to go with names for things
So,
that are more representative of
First
things we
player
want to
is.
I would choose small factory or
These cards are your hand.
I already have
So your first
Those
player.
cards are in your hand. That's right. You're starting with 2 cards in your hand.
Okay.
And you may choose one of these cards,
Right.
or if you want to draw 2 random cards, you click that button.
Right. So yeah, I'm going to draw random.
Only one of the
Cheap cards are
decks.
expensive
Only the cheap deck is available right now.
right now because I don't have any. Right. I don't have any money to
Because
buy it with.
we're actually locking the decks
So
so
if
you
you can
have to start
observe
small and
the
build up.
4th player,
Okay.
The larger decks
these
will
2,
unlock.
You guys did a lot of changes.
these
This
2
is
here.
publishing.
Just basically.
This is so
Yeah,
to
it's
understand.
simplification.
So
We're
this-
reducing
this-
choices, which is
These
a
folks are
simplification
playing
of
against
each
each other.
These all 4 of these are playing on the same game,
And I have
and
to
the
purchase.
4 on the
Where's
corner
tell
are
me
all
how much I
doing
have to
passive
purchase?
play.
This corner.
Oh, so I ended up getting both of these, workshop and flea market.
Yes,
so I
you
have to
chose
purchase
two.
at least 3.
Well, you only do 1 build per turn.
But I have to
But you
borrow at least 3 to actually keep these cards.
No. The cards going into your hand are free. You don't have to pay for cards that are in your hand. Those are just, think of them as contracts. So you've got a set of contracts to build, right? It doesn't
So I
cost you
haven't borrowed
anything to
yet.
have a contract. But when you actually go to make the building, then you have to pay to build.
Yeah.
And so what it's gonna cost you to build, so you only get 1 build per turn. You only need to borrow enough to build 1 item, so you set aside.
And now I'm going to choose it for first.
And you can choose where to put it.
No, the black point.
And it's my turn.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Great.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that's one thing I
A lot. It's good.
can clear. But this is your information here.
Yes.
It's my turn right now, right?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Right.
So once you've made your move,
So
end turn.
that should advance.
So what does it mean by the different decks?
and then it becomes you.
Right, so then
First
doing
of all, we
your
currently have deck blocking, so you can only draw cards from this
Doesn't
deck.
You'll tap into different
Right.
stuff, so.
Yeah, they've got different things. The cost to build varies by deck. This is the cheap deck.
So you can choose
This is the
this one.
moderate price deck. This is the really expensive deck.
Okay.
That
I've
will build
only
bigger things
played
for more money.
Any one of these 4, or
The idea is when you're starting out, you only have small contracts
Oh,
on
okay.
them.
Because the gray one is the one you want, the dark one is the Sean.
Right, it's just
For the photos,
That's what those are.
we can't, like,
plenty of time.
it has to be like a, what do you mean by like a professional photo? For the visa application.
It needs to be
Oh,
a
right.
passport.
Oh, that means that when you build it, you don't actually earn any
It
money,
needs
but
to
you
be
do
a
earn tuition.
passport, immigration spec,
We can go to CVS together, right?
yeah. Or the
Do
student
that this
center where you
weekend.
get IDs, they.
Oh, they would do it for free, I think?
No, you get, I think it's or copycat used to, was it post something else now? You get 2 in a little envelope. That's for $9, or CVS, you can get a sheet of 20 of them for the same price. And I've been using,
A copy check?
I was every year cutting one for the last, I've used 14 out of 20, but now I have a 10-year visa, so I'll wait another 9 years before I start using those photos.
Technically speaking, you're supposed to take them in 6 months.
Yes, you are, but, yeah, thanks.
Back here. All right.
I'm gonna hand out the visa
you need to
for,
go
what you,
over
I
that.
sent it by you, what you see, that's the pic right on that.
So far? What's that? All right, so if you click on that, it'll tell you what the synergies are. So it'll tell you what kind of bonuses people get for click away from it. There it is.
So there's some confusion, it appears to be this turn, but it's telling me he's already borrowed right now.
Yeah, so it's not, so it really isn't your turn yet. It's just, we don't have UI that says.
Somebody didn't build.
Wait, we just have UI that says, it's not your turn yet. Where it really what it says is, you've already gone. So what's gonna happen is,
Well, take a look.
It'll
Take a
hit
look. You
enter,
can tell by looking at the
and then
cards.
all of a sudden, theoretically,
I'm
it'll
purposeful.
pop up
You're
this
purple.
screen,
I
and
did
you'll be
farmer's
ready to
market.
draw a card.
Why is the farmer's market brown?
No, you're the first player, aren't you?
Well, player 1, player 2, player 3, so you didn't build.
Okay,
Yeah, I did.
so he just entered it, and it did exactly how I.
I think player 4.
Wait, so do we like bring our like completed someone like completion to you?
Maybe somebody didn't click end turn.
Okay, did I just play this player 3?
Nobody else can get letters, but they can always look at it. I'll put you to get
I think I'm also lost.
Okay, I think I just played as player 3. So it's player 4's turn.
Printed out.
Did you?
I added the historical.
Just not, if there's no indication that it's a new event.
Did you actually get a turn? Or did you
Is
play?
there an event
Yeah, I
or
think
not?
so.
Okay, and
Did you
it'll tell you what
build
event
something?
it
You
is.
didn't build it?
But it won't tell
Oh.
you that it's new.
It said pass the tablet.
So I was like, okay, I'll pass it.
Okay, so you didn't take your turn.
Okay, I think I forgot to
So you're now player 4 and I'm player 3. So,
So, oh yeah, so which player is going now?
Did you do any of this? Okay, so you didn't actually play your turn. You
No, it's a
you-
good, it's a great feedback. Thank you.
I forgot to pass it.
This doesn't work.
So it's good to
Because,
take
yeah,
a
so
look
you
and see
know-
what's going on.
So what, do you know which player you are?
So I'm now player 4.
Is there anything different between this room and this room?
So if you take a look,
But yeah, it would be good for you.
the cards in the services area don't give you, or cost money to build, but don't ever give you, they don't really give you any cash.
Yeah, it'll update at the end of a
They give
round.
you prestige instead.
And so a round is just
And
everybody's
prestige,
playing.
prestige is how you win the game, but if you don't have any money,
Because you could do it right now.
you
next to our
can't build
session.
and take actions.
You said you wanted to get it done.
So you can decide if you want to try and make some money and then do prestige. or
Okay, great.
prestige. How do you know how much it costs?
She wants to.
The number up in the corner. So there's a little negative sign for it, almost across the thing.
Yeah.
That's minus 2, so it costs 2 to build. And when you build it, it will give you 4 cash and no prestige. These are the synergy bonuses. If it's next to a cultural, something with that symbol or that symbol, you'll lose a prestige because building a factory next to a park makes people sad. But if you build it next to another industry works together and supports each other, so you'll get extra money and make your factory extra productive. So this is what we call the synergies, and these are these are the building bonuses, and those are the
As a
synergies.
regular, visitor in the basement.
Yeah, that's how much money you currently have.
Services don't get put on the board, they go over here, and they only give you prestige, and they give you extra prestige as they support whatever,
Some things when you build.
whatever suit
The only thing
they are good for. So solar panels help your industry, recycling plants help your commercial, and also I feel like
Do you ever like spend your industry
Yes, we're gonna get
spend prestige
you.
points. You can spend prestige points to do a renovate or demolition action, in which you build over somebody else's land. Basically, you're trading on the public good. Oh yeah, I know you got this apartment here, but trust me, it'll be so much better once I turn to luxury pensions.
And so you can.
And so you spend
Years going
prestige
out of
to sort of get to build over somebody else's building.
Normally, June
Really?
It used to be that we could.
Yes.
So at the beginning of your turn, you'll be asked to, you must pay at least one debt, but you can pay as much of it as you want. But it'll be at the start of your turn.
Stash in this size. It's just like that's always your hands, the things you can choose to do.
You only get.
Okay, so say
So start with some money. Yep.
I cannot choose.
Exactly right.
Okay.
So when you
How do you
first time, it's
you borrow money?
Well, in
But
general,
once
like unless you're
you've
working
confirmed
there,
it,
you're
then
gonna
it's-
get to be there.
And that will let you build anything that costs up to two.
Yeah, they
So he just built,
job.
And now this is the building board, and you just drag some, don't get
what
into,
do you want to
don't
use?
get into.
Explain.
Yeah. Now, what you do is you choose a card that you'd like to build.
Yeah,
The cost of the upper right corner is 2.
yeah, so the cost of the upper right corner is 2, but
It doesn't have a +4 bonus.
so it gave you +1 per factory.
Bonus is next to houses.
It doesn't have to be adjacent.
That might be above.
Cash.
Okay,
It should-
that's what I thought, but I wanted to be
It's
clear.
supposed to be adjacent.
Oh, I
Sarah
see how
knows
this works
if it-
now.
But even
Okay,
if it was adjacent, there were
Here you
2
go.
other, I think there was only
Alright,
one.
so am I player 3?
No,
Okay.
you
And
were
it
still
shouldn't,
player
it's,
one.
so it shouldn't.
You're still
count.
player
Itself
one.
shouldn't count.
She skipped her turn, so I played player 3.
Now
So
everything
let's,
marked
let's check and see if I'll write that
Lights
down.
out, at the end of the round, for each housing card you have on the
It was the
board,
small factory,
lose
right?
1 prestige. What? Losing card you have, so I don't have any housing cards.
Also, I can get rid of
Nope, you don't need to pay all of it.
And then
I need
You have to pay at least one, because then
And that
you
event
I have
is
4.
true for everybody. Yep.
Yeah, that should be information for
And I could
everybody.
pay more if
Yeah.
I wanted to.
And it
So
is
this is
available
this,
to everybody.
this one is
We're, one of the bugs we have is that should pop up at the beginning
No,
of
the interest
everyone's
is
turn.
all
Have to
front-loaded
play, it
because when
doesn't
you borrow
right now.
2.
Instead, it's on the news screen.
So yes, there's interest, but it all
So
arrives.
there's you can see that the event is labeled here, it shows that that's the current
Yes.
event.
So
And
one
then
thing
it's only
that
for
might
me.
No, it's for
answer part of this
everyone.
question is
And you
that might
can
be
read the text again by tapping the news screen.
Oh,
At some point, this is not working, don't look at that, that's all garbage. At some point, this will tell you what people did on their turns, so you can see what people did on their turns and how it affected you personally.
So, what
Unfortunately, that
happened,
isn't
what happened,
so
why
that's
you
getting that
have, why you have more money?
But the event
Other people built
stated
stuff, that might have affected you as well. So you might have gotten money from somebody else as well.
Okay, so the money comes out, you have to decide on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Alright, so, what's the logic we're running
Yep, so
is,
just take out 3.
I build a thing and it costs me money to build. If it's next to good stuff, then I get extra stuff.
Yeah, that's kosher
And I
stuff.
make money from
Yeah, commercial.
Oh, those are the synergy points.
Those are the synergy points, that's right. When it's built next to things
Oh,
with
that's
those
just
symbols.
broken.
And
Okay,
if you take a look
cool.
at the
So yeah, so
symbol,
I
you'll
do, so
see that
what's
what they
going
have
on
is
is,
a giant symbol
this is
so
correct.
you can tell how
this
your
part
card is
is
getting
not,
around.
is still unfinished. And this part is still unfinished. So eventually, when you do play the game, when you play when this feature is finished, so within probably 2 weeks, I think, then that'll be the correct. But you could have used for
If that's the farmer's market, so you can tap to expand cards if you want to see what they look like. Unfortunately, the tap is.
Were you the one who was course 1 or no, she was you were course 6 then? Oh, okay. Down with the course.
Look,
That's ridiculous.
no, because
Okay, but
it has to be built, but it
It'd be like
Oh, it's
traditional
negative
too.
1. I thought it was impossible.
Okay.
I just saw the star.
You win by having the highest middle number, not the highest cash. Which we should have.
And there's like
So everyone gets to do twice the way there's not a space on the board.
well, except that you can build over.
Money points are the star points, so you
Yes, you can get that. Yeah, you can choose to build over someone else's building, and then if you're building over someone else's building, you pay them half the cost of the original building. So you buy it, you demolish it, you improve it. But it costs you prestige and cash to do that. But if you want to get all of their synergy bonuses and it's just the perfect location, you do that. It costs you extra money and it costs you prestige. But
so
yes.
the cards we have, but yeah, these are the ones I have right now.
Those are in your hand, yes.
So those are my options. Okay,
Yeah, you can choose one of, so cards in your hand, think of cards in your hand as potential contracts you can build.
Okay.
People said we want one of these built.
And
You
those
can
are
choose new
adding?
contracts to go into your hand. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
And you can choose those. If you don't like anything that's up there, you can decide to draw. You can take more
You already placed
by
something
drawing
like
random.
that.
If you choose what you get, you only get one. But if you take random,
There's no
you
way.
choose to get more choices. Hopefully.
It is, so
The
you
idea
know,
being
there are
that
some
hopefully
things
you'll
to
always have
avoid, and
something
there's
that
some things you
will.
can't avoid.
And then how do you win the game if you don't go
If
back
you
to
have a housing board.
The game just ends after
Usually,
5
if it's
turns.
costing
Right now.
damage,
And you can choose how long you want the game
game's
to be.
gentle
But the game
and
ends
that's a bad
at
thing to do.
5 turns or 10 turns. 5 turns and 10 turns are the 2 limits we've been playing at.
That's right, right? You're playing for maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah.
If we're going to 2, so we'll be playing
So
for
these are the
45
cards
minutes.
that
That
you have
feels,
available.
Yeah.
So it's
And
saying
the other thing is the first
you can
game
have
is
up
slow.
to 4
The
cards in
second
your
game
hand
goes a
and you
lot
can
faster.
think of it as a hand of cards.
You know what everything.
You can play one of those cards as building.
And the other thing is that
So
if you
that's
manage to
just
play
to-
a slow, you pour
Yeah.
the
And if you draw 2, it'll ask you to discard, yeah.
although it's looking like we may not have the tablets to support 2 sessions at once, but that's okay. A tablet for each student. The other thing is that there was, we were talking about like potentially seeing teams, like a 2-person team or something like that to play the game. With each, 2 people on each team.
What are, I'm just thinking from it, these are undergrad college kids, but still, what are we gonna do to keep them, like, keeping occupied for these 2 to 3 minute
Yeah,
chunks of time? When I'm not doing anything.
well, if there are, well, one of the advantages of having teams is they can sit and discuss about it. Or they can sit and horse around and be at games. But yeah, I think that's I don't have really, I don't have a true answer, but it's something to think about.
Like, what are some added,
Added strategies.
I think there's a visual one.
And there's things with, so if it's
like, are
passive
there
play, they
workshops?
can't. Yeah, I mean,
that's-
when it's passive play,
think it's-
it's taken away from you completely, right? So it's really bad. If it's networking, they can still look and see what's going on.
Right,
So it's really, it's the passive play
but I
that
think it's probably gonna end up with
But
passive
it,
play.
it sounds like passive play is going to be
Yeah.
already in play.
So then I think it's
It's
relying
not
on.
something you guys have to answer, it's more like from a classroom
Yeah, from a
management
classroom management
perspective, like, how am I gonna
having a
keep me
background-
occupied for the 3 to 4 minute span? So it seems like it's, what, like about 5 minutes for them leaving to come, which is not a long time.
But it is,
You have nothing else
so,
to do.
so one of the things you can,
Right.
one of the things you can think about doing, there's the potential, so one of the things you try to think about is there a side activity that interleaves with it? Well, they're trying to design one. Either a, how about a worksheet? So I think you want their attention, you would like them to be analyzing the game. You might think building.
Or can we
Something on a table?
Oh, that could be, yeah, something.
Like styrofoam or cardboard, like they're
Yeah.
also actively building as they think about, oh, this could go here, and this could go there. And
If you had like a representation of the game, if you had like even just cardboard cups that you could place, or cards. I mean, one of the things we are going to
Cups,
create.
actually cups, that's a great idea. Like styrofoam cups labeled on top.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we're gonna actually provide you is a PDF copy of this game. So this started as a board game.
Right.
It's pretty obvious.
Yeah,
And we
that's
still
something I
have,
isn't,
we
that
still
you're
have
not
the
told yet.
materials to generate
So I know
this
that
game
now
as a card game.
I'm pretty
And
important.
so one of the things we
Feature
do is
for the network version.
the PDFs for that, which will have cards.
Isn't it
Right,
just
so we
the,
can print them out.
When you print them out, they could be placing.
Winning
them,
is the one with the highest prestige.
You're arranging them, because
But
one
if
of
you
the
have debt at the end
potential
of the 5
curricular
turns,
activities
that'll get taken away.
is having people, okay, you played this game the
How
way
do you
it's
make money?
set.
With money.
How would you make it more realistic?
How do you, so based on what you've seen
How
so
would
far, how do
you
you
change
change
it?
it?
Okay, here's the pieces to change the game in.
yeah.
So some of the buildings you build, you fund. Yeah.
Yes, but I'm just looking like that.
Wait, did you use the during CPW or did you come up with Oh, those are hopes. Oh, okay.
You have to hit a turn.
How many undergrads are there at MIT?
4,000. More than like some.
Hey, Sarah,
There's like this many.
when can renovate and demolish happen?
Renovate is same suit on your own card. Demolish is any card of a value less than the card you're putting on top of it.
So,
Or is that
We're going to need to convert something to a better version.
I was trying to
A lot of
A
people
better
Oh,
version
yeah.
of the category. They used to have a level number.
What was it about the budget?
oh yeah, they don't have a level number anymore.
Temple's currently
What
get
they
cash
have
donation.
They're supposed
is,
to get prestige,
you
no?
basically can figure out, you can reverse use a level
Yeah,
number by
it's
just
just
looking at the cost of it. A low cost card is not as valuable
So
as
I'm
a
about
high
to
cost.
build
Give you as much.
permits, what permits?
Make it
Do that.
anything that's more expensive, so it's like electricity, or that there's some kind of visual aid next to it. No idea what it's called.
It's really, so what it is for demolish, it's, the cost is important. So whatever you're building has to be more expensive.
Thing called
But we also don't have any, like, we have a cheat sheet that helps you understand all these terms. So we didn't provide you today, we wanted to see how far you're able to just get on this. But the cheat sheet itself will have explanation of renovate and demolish. Hopefully we'll actually also have UI for that.
Alright, so
But that
now
might be just in the
board
one
is
sheet
full.
instructions.
Except that if you
So one
notice
thing to think about is how would you,
edges of
if
the
you were to
ceiling
introduce
now.
this to new players, what kind
Oh,
of
so we do continue to build the upper spaces.
do you want them to, do you want to do what we just did, is throw you the wolves? Do you want to demonstrate the game and how to project it and play in the
And now how do I see my listing? Because I don't appear here as player one, so I just have to look here.
Your stats are always gonna be here.
So I don't have very many prestige points compared to Wendy, right? Wendy, she built a website and then shops.
Yep.
Whereas I built a farmer's market, a workshop, and condos.
Yeah, factory.
So I probably lost
So you pulled that
from building a workshop.
I don't think we did.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Workshops, see, workshops aren't
So
sneaky
unless
like
you've already
factory.
taken on a loan.
So I lost.
Workshops are industrial, but they're not.
No, but you only have one
factory.
turn left.
So she got one. She only got one more pick.
So if you already borrowed, yeah, you remember that.
But how come she has six? You, three, times two. So I didn't get any of the
But I got a lot more.
You got it.
The temple gave me two when it got placed. It's not telling you build bonuses. It's only showing the synergy bonuses, but there's build bonuses.
The standard rate is you borrow.
Condos give you prestige, but you get no prestige.
And you get a better rate.
Because they're not showing you the
Makes
build
sense, you build reputation.
And normally, when the events page, when the news page is working, you'll be able to see what people got from each one. But right now, you can say it's all the same data.
It just went to sleep here.
Interesting.
One of the buttons on the edge should do it.
The smallest pen pencil.
Wait, once I, like, in the beginning, they asked me if I want to pay more for skate bass, but I forgot to, like, pay more, and I,
No,
yeah.
For interface purposes, you write your loan check, you write your loan payment
In the
check at the beginning of the term. Instead of-
Yeah, I forgot about it.
But there's no carrying costs, so.
No interest?
No, it's a simplification.
It's in the beginning.
It's a simplification.
It's built into it.
Next is carrying.
I don't know, I'm trying to think of the way, I think the way my student loan is presented to me, I always think the interest has already been calculated out ahead. Like just the numbers that they give me, but it's not. I do just see the principal that I have to pay.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this is basically saying this is
Well,
the
actually,
principal.
it's very complicated because you normally pay the interest first.
Yeah,
So you don't pay,
Right.
in the beginning, I
During
pay
the
interest at all.
Yeah.
You pay like $1 principal for every $25.
Right, so the bank always been.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's why they recommend if you want to get rid of interest, you put down
You
extra money.
pay,
You
you
save
pass.
it.
You pay ahead.
Yeah, you pay double the principal.
Yeah, yeah.
So you write them the check and then you say, okay, well, here's another $100
But of course, if you have a tax deduction, if you itemize the tax fall, then the interest paid.
Yeah, if you can deduct it, if you can deduct it off your taxes, and if you're itemizing, if you're deducting, and if your interest rate is high enough, that it's.
But there's also a cap on how much you get to deduct. It's not that you can't deduct all interest.
Yeah, well, there's the additional complication of, if you're paying 3% interest and you're deducting that,
Yeah.
if you can get a higher return than your interest is being, than your deduction sheet is, then you're better off not having to pay
What does this mean?
So,
Does it mean there's one more term left, or this is all?
there's an opportunity cost for the money that you're for the interest money you're paying interest on. And so if you can get a return that is bigger than the deduction.
Well, yeah, that's a good point.
Make 12%.
Like, actually, I think it should be round instead of short.
You're paying like 5%.
Yeah. Well, then you want to have a whole lot of debt because you're getting 12% return on
We
the
set
money.
it, so we can set how many turns you want. We set it to 5 turns. So one of the things you'll be able to do is set the game to be short or long. Right now, right now there's a bunch of settings you can have. We might reduce the number of settings you have. We actually give it to
You
you.
might have only a couple of long game and short game,
yeah.
and you can do that.
So you can play a short game, just, and this is basically, we're playing a short game so that you just understand how to play the game and not care so much about winning. Of course you don't want to win.
Does the map get bigger and there are more turns?
No, so the biggest it ever gets, so the exterior edge only opens up once the interior is filled.
5 by 5.
Mesting. Somebody finish the mesting.
Oh, there's one.
Why is it that sometimes you can't drive to certain blocks?
Oh, okay. The answer is hit. The answer there is hit. Is it didn't
Yeah,
think
that's
it
a
was
polish issue.
something. It's polished, and we still have some hit issues.
Like how many times?
I believe you get prestige every time someone builds something related, builds the required item. So if you get prestige for
You are running away with the
builds
game.
industrial.
Does
that happen? Is it only the industrial that's built at
You
the
have a
time
high debt, but you've got a lot of prestige. And you got a lot
of
of
building, or is it every time somebody else
Is it
builds industrial?
50-50 between prestige and
Yeah, one I think is anytime anyone, anytime you build industrial,
It's all about prestige.
Oh, really?
Yeah, your money converts to 3 to 1. So money
it might have
converts
changed
into prestige, but at a significant
design,
distance.
let me ask.
What's the strategy? What's the strategy?
So for services, say +1 prestige per block. Anytime anyone is built, so we changed it back to just generic. Anytime any, yeah. So
And the
anytime
prestige
anyone
bonuses
is
are too big. The prestige bonuses and services are too big in this game. There's some synergy adjustments we need to make. But yeah, we just want to do it worse, so it's easier to. No, I think they'll affect.
So anytime anybody builds certain industrial, you've got the prestige.
But it varies from card to card.
Yeah, so like, you click solar panels there, or sorry, sewers there. Solar panels there. Okay, so far everyone just happened to build all the ones that were focused on industrial. But yeah, so right now, she simplified it down.
It's so much shopping, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
Oh, you guys
I've
like
been having too
shopping.
much shopping.
Never
Too much shopping. There's too much shopping.
Because you love housing.
No, that's what the public transit thing coming from the city next door.
Yeah, so,
CNBC, at the end of the round for each cultural card, you have one housing card,
you take
one prestige.
then you would build it here to this. So you just put it in your hand, and then you can build into this area.
Which is
The
like
services don't exist on the
A
board.
lot of prestige.
and we have to make Claire too.
Yeah, so player 1, you build
Those are really good.
player 3 is
I know. But I have prestige.
And you give us a recycling plan.
I built a recycling plant. That's why I have so much prestige.
So yeah, I should.
Or like essays.
So wait, hold on. Is good for schools. Is good solar panels. Is good for factory.
So like talking about all the different
going shopping. So which one would I want?
So you want the one you think more people are going to build stickers because the bonuses come as people build things, not things that are on the board and actually help you for the service.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But I was getting next to the factory though.
But services go over very rarely. They don't go on the main board.
I think that's my graduate. And my
So that's my turn, right?
I've got it. Well,
Or do I also get
build?
I'm interested in like really cool.
Yes, I don't get to build more, do I?
No, you only have one build.
How many times you guys have those?
One.
So one full room?
One full rotation.
Yeah, one full rotation. And we're being smoked.
Yeah.
We're on our last round.
Okay, so that's actually almost the same time.
Yeah.
Somebody's beating you by a wide margin. Yeah,
Left, you're being left. I at least you're being left in the test.
Oh, I think it does.
Wait, so when it's not past a play, other players are not aware of how others are doing?
Other players are because they have their tablet and you can see how other players are doing because you've always got that read on the side.
Okay.
There's also a news panel on the bottom. If you tap it, it will show you the text for the current event. And when we implement the feature, it will show you what moves people took as well. It shows a history of what people's moves
Didn't
were
exist in the past, so.
and how much cash and prestige they got. But that
It's
is
rough.
still being implemented. It's being kind of tough to get in.
what is considered a cultural card?
A cultural card is the one with the red
Oh,
lantern.
so those services,
Oh,
the perks only come in after people, like after you build it?
Yeah, after you build the service, yeah.
You
So
can
you
build
want the
services
services early.
which is a challenge because early you want money, right? And the service only
There
costs
appears to be a bug
Okay.
where it might force you.
What bug did he hit? What happened?
It was giving you. We don't have to choose a card, right?
No, you,
Okay.
I think you do have to.
That's a little confusing, yeah. I don't know if it's probably correct, but bad.
I have like the worst money.
I'll write it down as a UI.
So you know we have the sheets automatically happen?
Yeah.
It automatically pulled up the loans when he was trying to build something.
Oh, he drew a card and then he wanted to build and he popped it down.
Yeah, even though he already had plenty of cash.
What card were you building? Yeah, I'm not sure how we fix that because it just marks his card to loan to. And so you just have to tap submit if you don't get a loan. I don't think there's a way the game can tell you how that counts.
Alright, so who won?
What did you win?
It's the most respected builder.
That's a strategy. How do you win?
Because I think midway through the round, like he told me we're counting prestige points at the end. So then I focused on gaining the little stars rather than making money. And also another thing is
So you invest in infrastructures,
more like services.
services.
Yeah. And then another thing, they have these like little rules. If we place like a house next to cultural center, then you get additional points. But at like double counts. So if you put like a house next to two cultural centers, then you get like 4 points instead of just like 2. So like
Especially if it's your cultural center. Because the cultural center may give you points for being put next to a house. Now if it's your cultural center, you get that prestige instead of the prestige going to someone else if somebody else builds
So
it.
you should build your own cultural center rather than waiting for people to build it.
Yes, because then you collect all the prestige when people build near it to take advantage of the prestige of it being there, yeah.
We'll let them finish, if you want
Almost
to,
finished.
talk about a little bit like with each other, what were some of the other strategies? that you had? Like, what were the things that you wish you knew when you started?
That
that you
means it's a
didn't
service.
find out till the end?
It's trying to point over to the services panel because services don't go on the main board. So you want to put it all the way over to the services panel.
Player one is just a
So
slight
when you buy
advantage, and then they
service,
can
do
claim
you
that center
also,
spot.
like, put
That
a
gives
cart
them, but then
like a house?
it's not much of an
No,
advantage.
no, you can either build a
Because,
service or something you're missing.
It's the outer edge is the disadvantage, right? Everybody in the middle is eventually going to get 4. It's like so everything in the second ring is going to have 4 adjacent elements,
So
right?
for us, there's only 5. There's only 5, so player one probably got 2.
Oh, but we only have like 5 rows, so.
Well, so we had 5 rounds, and did we fill up the city?
No.
Yeah.
So how do services work?
So services work, you put them on the side, so they exist outside of the city. Each service is going to give you prestige based on anything of a suit that's built later on. So if I built solar panels and it said +1 per commercial, if I built it early, then anytime anybody built a commercial thing, I would, as the owner of the solar panels, would get prestige and for each one of those builds.
That gets all updated.
That's updated throughout. So if the news screen was working, if that feature was finished, you would be able to go back and see all of the prestige changes. So right now we're not giving you any feedback for that. We're just letting you know that this is a good thing, but we're not screaming it in your face that it's a good thing.
The services are going to be added twice. The points are sort of double that.
Okay.
So we actually have, we have a full turn of 5.
Oh, because, you're right, we have to go.
Yeah, so we don't have any way of, so you're player 2.
Is your laptop
You had 10
showing what
prestige.
other cards you
How
have?
many prestige do you
Or what-
remember having before you got to this?
What was
Why?
Like, do we see what like, cards
The
the other
others
players
have,
have?
definitely didn't.
You don't, your hand is
So-
private.
Okay.
The card
She
you, yeah,
had-
the hand,
did she
the
just have
card
7
hand is
and
private,
then
but
you
everything
double?
else is public
She
information.
has-
So how much money you have, how much service you have. And you can tell what cards
Okay,
people
we'll
have
take a
played
look
on
and
the
see what's
board,
going on there.
because that's the color. But your
Without, other
your
than playing
hand
the
is
game,
actually
there's
private.
no other way
So
to
is this set,
figure
the
that
number
out.
of cards in like,
Like,
is
is it, right now,
is
you
it
say
like a
main,
set
it's gonna be
number
that.
for like housing, set number for museum, but are they all equal number of cards?
Roughly, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's an equal number of cards in the deck, but the decks are shuffled
Yeah.
randomly.
I see.
For
Yeah,
example, I
we
see
should,
one
like, right now, we're only
commercial
giving
that had
you
drawn no
the
commercial,
score, but
and
we
had
should
a
give
pile
you
of
the city
cultural
as well.
cards and a pile of factory cards, and that's all I have in my hand, so I can't make money.
I see.
My hand does not lie with me. I want the discard my whole hand, redraw everything.
You don't have a name yet.
But
Hit the Chinese button, the bottom one. That's the name.
Alright, we might have a real name. We might
I've
have,
been calling in, do you want to be a real estate?
What's the Chinese name?
do you want to be a developer?
What's the Chinese name?
I could, what I could.
It's not a bad way.
It's not a name, it's not a name.
No, I see the thing.
It's not a name. There's no name there. I'm going to check it out.
Huh?
Oh, it's
Oh,
no, no,
real estate game.
I wanted to make it the right name, but I am the wrong name. And I don't know how to do
There are
it.
other games.
It says real estate and fund
And I didn't know
Chinese.
what that.
地产游戏。
You never know what the right
Let's see real
So is
estate.
the maximum number of cards is 6?
I think it's 4 cards in your hand.
But if you have 3, then you randomly draw 2, so there's 1.
Then it goes up to 5, and during your turn you can
Oh,
go over
okay.
your hand limit, but if you have more, if you have too many cards in your hand, if you have 5 cards in your hand, it will ask you to discard a card before you can end your
Translate
turn.
to.
So you have to discard it back down.
You have a great name, like
So how do you think it's going to go? What about this makes you think about it?
它是它做法翻译为地产代商代息，从地产代康，地产代康，地产代康，
But I feel like there's no direct interaction.
这个我做的不太好。
Right. So right now, they're like,
Because you can't really do other.
did anybody notice any ways that you can interact with the other players subtly, if not through direct manipulation? So one thing you can interact with the players is if, correct me if I'm wrong here, sir, if someone has a house and and I plop a factory next to that house, am I hurting them or am I just hurting me?
You're hurting both.
How?
The owner of the house takes a prestige hit, and the owner of the factory takes a prestige hit.
Yeah.
Because people are unhappy when you build factories next to their houses. So you could actually cost people prestige that way.
So there's a couple of ways you can subtly negatively affect another person.
I think don't mind. Maybe in the future, in that scenario, the homeowner may cost money, but the people who build the factory may cost prestige.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. So it doesn't, the homeowner loses cash.
Yeah, but because it's a property prices drop.
Oh, that's a good thought. Can you,
Yeah. Well, then-
are you taking?
Yes.
Sorry, I've been playing the game.
And
So
then
I have not
also
been-
prestige is worth more than cash, right?
Yeah.
So the penalty is a bit heavy on the infector, not the person who being infected.
Mhm. Well, I mean, some of the houses like being built near, like the cheap houses don't mind being built near factories.
And that's is a quarter for the workers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think we're calling them flats right
We're
now.
calling them flats.
But we don't have barracks.
We don't have barracks, no.
So in general, people don't like to be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was my,
pollution,
I was assuming that this is mostly things that you buy, people at
Yeah.
investment level, like if
So
they're
what the-
purchasing
the-
land or.
If there were barracks, they'd be in the factory.
Yeah, barracks would be in the factory.
Okay. So that's one thing to think about when you're bringing it in front of students is
Well,
like,
actually, the case is a little more complicated. If the factory exists first, and then the house come later, then maybe that is going to be complicated.
But that is a level of complication we don't want to try to
Yeah.
express in the game. But I mean, if it hurts, yeah, yeah.
but it's easily done.
I do like the idea of
It's easy if a factory exists first, and somebody build a house next to a factory, then the factory owner shouldn't be penalized. But the homeowner should take out one cost. That's all.
So it was a prestige hit when they happened with the factory.
We're not set up well to do that right now.
But that's the kind of discussion you want to have happen.
But that's exactly a good discussion for people to point out that, you know, in this game this happened, but in reality it should happen more like, right?
So your
And so that becomes your discussion point.
So your best advantage when using this in the classroom is, here is one representation of how things work. This is not correct. This is a fantasy world that is close to what we're talking about. What kind of things would they want to change? What kind of things could they change to make it more realistic? You could talk about, so how do factories work? How does housing relate next to factories? What kind of things do we want to change in the game? And then we'll provide you with a board game version of the game, so you can then do modifications of the board game version as one of the class sessions. Are you all finished, or you still got one more?
I'm not, keep talking because I'm playing here.
Okay.
And I'm the last person.
Oh, cool, great.
So who won on
They're about to find out. But they
I'm
think-
sure it was my now.
But they think Claire,
Yeah.
there's a cash conversion that's going to happen, and then that might change things.
Do you know that there's a one prestige with two or three cash with one prestige? Wow.
But you have to subtract the debt from the first, so it might be negative prestige.
That is prestige.
Yeah, so I think
Oh, yeah,
everybody
yeah, yeah.
here had
Okay.
negative cash.
Who
Or
won?
not everybody. but
I
most.
know. I made a very strong play at the very end.
You made a huge play.
I did.
What did you do?
Wow.
I drew the silk shop, which gets bonuses being near cultural sites because then tourists go there.
That's not fair, you know that. It's
All
not
right, so
fair
click it,
inside
click it.
information.
I still don't.
Game over.
So player two has 17 points.
It's great.
Player 3 has 14 points. I skipped a
We
turn,
tied.
and we tied 7. Yeah, so but you can see the formula. Hopefully, it'll look better.
So if we take out Sarah and Wendy, what's your
Because
strategy?
cash is not as valuable as
you
prestige,
have to
and we don't
spell
want it. We want it to be less valuable than prestige.
Got it.
But there are ways you can win the game by just making just ignoring prestige and
That's a
making
great
tons of
first
money.
strategy.
I thought doing services first wasn't better.
I didn't know
Yes.
about the services, so I didn't do it.
So you build cultural center.
Because I didn't have any money making cards, so I can only do cultural house.
But you can draw card, but
Yeah, but the ones I draw are not. They're still cultural stuff.
I will say, I have to say, you won.
Right.
Thank you.
yeah. Sarah, because
Well, I came in last. We tied for last. We tied for last.
So what mistake did you make to bottom of the game? Huh? And you think why
I
you
got it a lot. I started out fairly cash poor after my first turn, and there wasn't a good place to build the most cash. I have a lot of factories. I had a whole lot of factories in my hand that I couldn't build without taking a significant prestige hit. Because the way other people had built things, I was going to be putting my factory next to somebody's house.
Did you all use the renovate and demolish?
We did not use that
Yeah,
at
we
all.
didn't use them.
We didn't need to. I think that is only going to come into play in the 10-round games, and I think that that's okay.
So what we're talking about, there's a feature that it's possible to do, it's hidden. We don't give you a UI to understand how it works right now, but we'll give you a sheet that says how it works, and hopefully by May we'll have that in as a fuller feature. Right now we're worrying about the news panel being in first. But it's basically a means of replacing buildings in the city with your own. If you renovate it, it means you're replacing one of a suit with a similar suit, so replace a cultural with another cultural, but you have to own that previous building. So it's like you can
It's like
upgrade a building.
upgrade your historic site and make it, you renovate it so it becomes a full temple,
Yeah.
right? You
Or
renovate
you
the
can
historic site,
do
you build
demolish.
buildings, and now it's a fancy temple because you fixed it up.
And so demolish is based on cash. I can take a expensive card and replace a cheap card with it, of any suit. But
And you can demolish somebody else's building,
and if I demolish
now
somebody else's
you own
building,
their
I
spot.
pay them for their building.
And so they get some money back for having their spot demolished, and then you get all of the synergy bonuses for the things that are surrounding.
But it's really only
Did they
important
have
when
to
you're playing for 10 rounds or 15 rounds.
Do they get a say to say, okay,
Nope.
oh,
Nope.
you just do it?
You just do it.
You just do it.
Okay.
And those two actions actually cost prestige. Those are the only things you spend prestige for in the game. But if you use them wisely, I once managed to demolish something that was in the right spot and gave me I spent 2 prestige and got 8 prestige back. Yeah. So one of the things to also discuss is after the first play of the game, like people mentioning, oh, services. If only I'd known about services at the beginning of the game, right? And that's one of the ways that the playing the game can change the second time people play it. You can ask people. So one of the things you can do for discussion periods is, okay, so you played the game the first time, you realized services were useful at the end. You played the game the second time, you realized services were useful in the beginning. How did that change the overall play of the game? How did that change?
When do you get the prestige for the services?
When the item gets built. So if
So
you
play
have,
at the beginning, you get prestige for everything that gets built. If you play at the end, you only get. So it's only half of that.
yeah, so if you build, say, solar panels, which give building bonuses for industry at the beginning of the game, as your first action, every single industry that gets built will give you a prestige because they get to save money because they can buy your solar electricity and they don't get harshed on for making as much money.
I played several times. I didn't know that.
It's an update. It's a change.
Yeah.
We've changed the way services work. Right now, actually, services are too powerful
Yeah.
because the top level services will give you 3 prestige points for every building.
But they don't come in until late. Like
They don't come in till late, so we're rebalancing them again. But
So how about this team? You don't mind. Who get the lowest score and walk and why?
Like I got a score.
Why?
I didn't understand how the services worked for
Yeah.
one. I thought I was going to get turns for all the existing cards, so I played service and I should not.
Right,
So you invest in the money generating real estate.
No, I didn't have any debt.
Right, yeah. I think he was playing too conservative.
I see.
Jenny took out lots.
Yeah.
the other thing is that taking on a lot of debt
That's
can
good.
actually,
That's not a bad thing.
that's not a bad thing in this game if as long as you remember to pay it off.
Actually, it's what my father taught me. A good businessman, or woman, sorry, good businessman or woman, is one that who know how to borrow. If you don't borrow money, you're not a good business person.
I have a question.
So that's a couple of things, right? So we have a quick reference sheet. Think about how, if you were, like you've now been in the shoes of somebody who's played without knowing all the rules. How would you want to be taught? Would you want to be stepped through? So these have HDMI outputs, I believe. You could plug it into a projector. You could play the game in front of the entire class and then have them start playing. You could have them play the short game and then say, all right, so what did you figure out? What didn't you figure out? Here's the rules. Did you read the rules? Did you what did you understand?
I think the format of the first day you play a game like this, everybody got confused, slow, and then you get the discussion is very important. Don't skip the discussion and reflect on what mistake has been made or what right decision has been made. Then next day you come back and play and see how the game will proceed. Because in the afternoon, as you can see from the proposed syllabus, the afternoon is all about game playing.
Where did I put my bag?
So, one resource we have that I forgot to bring copies of today. But I'll pull it up on my iPad.
It's also probably out of date at this point too.
No.
It has
It's mostly
the services are correct on it?
it doesn't have all the very specific data, but it's mostly.
This is a gigantic iPad.
Yeah, it's huge.
It is the I did not realize how large it was when I picked it up. I mean, I had the size of it, but it was just like, what?
That's big. It's like a TV screen.
Okay, so here is a quick reference guide, and this is the one in English, and we have one that's translated to Chinese. So if you take a look, I believe that it doesn't have a lot of specifics, but explains synergies and things like that. So if you want to, if you guys want to look at it, and then I'll head it around that way. But one of the resources we'll hopefully give you is this is something you can share with your students, and then they can have that as sort of a guide for their first time play. And people who stop and read it and study all the rules will have an advantage over people who are just like Because I've seen people who are willing to read the rules before they play a game, and a lot of people just want to jump in and start doing
Just
things.
thinking about China, as some of my colleagues will know, the rules are not clear.
Those were sometimes not enforced.
It changed like 5 minutes.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is also just a very quick guide, right? It doesn't have all the full details.
We have the full.
We do have a full set of rules that honestly are now out of date. You can't
Yeah, we'll get that when we get the board game.
But we'll get that when we get the board. We'll give you a board game version. Yeah.
What does it mean to renovate a grid card? Why does that cost you 2 prestige?
Renovate or demolish?
Renovate grid card.
That may be an error.
So by grid card, we mean a contract card, or really a building on the grid is a grid card. We'll have more standardized terms.
Oh, replace grid card. Okay, so this is actually a language problem. Replace grid card means renovate. When we're discussing renovate, and renovate here means demolish. That's just an error on the sheet,
Cool.
which you have caught.
We've got 20 minutes left.
But that's sort of a quick guide that hopefully we'll be revising and updating and making accurate that
So-
you can have as a resource to help people figure out how to play the game. We also will have one translated into Chinese if you wish to use that one.
So you can take these tablets. We've got 5 tablets out here. You can take these with you if you want to play the game more. You don't have to, but if you feel like you want to know the game more, you can take a tablet with you. What I'd like to do for the last 20 minutes is really just talk about how else you're going to bring this into your classroom. Like, you were talking about
Classroom, yeah, Elise, classroom management.
classroom management. So what was the
Yeah,
share
so the
with everybody
question
else?
was, given that a full term takes 5 to 7 minutes or so, that means that I'm sitting here for 5 to 7 minutes without doing anything and
Should you be walking around?
potentially causing trouble.
Oh, she is a player. That's a
Oh,
student.
she's a player.
I'm
She's
a
a player.
student.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what am I doing for 5 to 7 minutes while I wait?
Wait, quick question. Are the students like in China like very rowdy? I know in Italy. I know in Italy they are, but
No, but even
Are they
if they're not
orderly?
rowdy, they're still
They get
so
bored.
blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Tell me about this. Tell me about that. Oh,
True.
friend, tell me about this.
true. Okay.
Also throw the eye
Email.
tag.
Right.
So that's one thing that, you know, when this was a card game, there's sort of more of a face-to-face element of interaction when you're waiting for somebody else to take their turn. You're sort of looking at them kind of wondering what they're going to do and watching their every move.
Yeah.
And that's not
Right.
in part because there isn't much transparency when people take actions.
Yeah.
That's something that doesn't happen as much in the tablet version.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if there's something where either we can encourage more face-to-face interaction, even if it's like back talk, like, no, you don't want to build that.
Yeah.
Even that will get people engaged more, or make the actions more transparent.
But since we're
I think-
we're likely passing.
Yeah, so I think maybe one thing to do is to don't give the tablet and have an individual look at on his own, but encourage him to put it in here and then everybody look at it.
Yeah.
Make a decision.
Oh, put the tablet in the center
Yeah.
and you can peek over people's shoulders
Just
and
like,
pivots
but
about.
right now is everybody take the tablet and we all do that, right? Take the
Right.
look at
Yeah.
it ourselves and then don't look at it. Yeah, but if you ask them, please put it on the table.
Yep.
Everybody can
And
see
it
it.
has to stay on the table. That would
Everybody-
solve it.
Yeah.
There's also, like we talked about, using
Yeah.
teams, so you could have students, instead of playing 4 people, it's 8 people in teams of 2, 12 people in teams of 3. Especially, the 12 people in teams of 3 is probably easier when you're doing the network version. Each team has their own tablet. But think about, there's also, you could play, so when we first met with y'all, we talked about playing the game on the projector and having teams say what they're doing, right? Like you can do, if you want to set up, it depends on the size of your classroom and how this works out. Like you could theoretically have the entire class all playing one game where they see the game on the projector. The teams then decide what they're going to do and then submit what they're going to do to the moderator.
We could have like a final 4.
Yeah? You can do tournaments.
Great, a tournament.
Another variant of the game that I'm tempted by, but I haven't really had a chance to test and play, is where you've got P1, P2, P3, P4. What if P1, P3 are actually a team?
Yeah.
So you still divide up into teams, but player 1 and player 3 add their scores together at the end of the game. And so maybe I'll take, if I take a small hit, I like that, but I can set things up so that on your turn you get a giant bonus. And so now, but of course there's an opposing team in between that if they can take advantage of your setup, they will.
Really, I would say try the individual game first.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And try the collaborative game second.
Yeah.
Because then the externalities factor coming to, because the two person can cooperate to make sure that the thing built against each other are complementary to each other rather than hurting each other. Right, so that is actually being good.
And that also encourages conversation, right? Because
Yeah.
all of a sudden you've got 2 people sitting next to each other, and while one of them is talking, and the other 2 are listening in on that conversation, because you've got corporate spies. You're going to say something, I hear it, I know what you're planning, I can try to figure out with my partner how we take advantage of what you're doing, right?
Well, this is actually also an interesting paradigm shift, because in the real world, individual investment are dominant. And we can see whether partnership may actually create more profits than prestigious.
I think what you just said is to encourage cooperation between 2 players, but I mean I don't see why it couldn't be between all players and they have the choices whether or not they want to cooperate with another person. So there is a trade-off between the offering and the return.
Yeah. That's
Well, I think
allowing people to
that would be
form their
another mode of playing. If you compare the total score
Oh, yeah.
for individual, 2 partnership, full collaboration, and see how the score, aggregate score, not just individual.
Yeah. You aggregate the score, yeah.
Yeah. And one thing with collaboration is it encourages strategy sharing, which means you're discussing things openly in class so that you can then directly relate the concepts to stuff.
That's actually
So yeah, really think of the game as just one tool of
There's
many
no
things.
fun
that
of
we
being
have.
the guy.
There's the gameplay happening in the game, but there's all the other interactions that are going on outside of the game that are just as important, if not more so.
There's another mode, 4th mode is to have collaboration on one team, collaboration on another team, to see if one team is collaborating better, we have a high score.
The 4 versus 4 plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing we're going to provide you is the board game version. So you could also do as a modification. So for your last session using the game in class, you could do, based on everything we've talked about, now let's talk about how would we change the game and have each team come up with like one major change they want to make. They would have all the cards they would need to play the game as an analog game.
And then they could just, they could just scratch out and change the numbers on the cards.
Yeah. So it could be they want to rebalance things. It could be they want to add a fifth suit.
Yeah.
They could add 5 players. Like there's lots of different things. A lot of systems going on.
Maybe they want to decide cash is king.
Yeah. Change the debt system so that
Change
it's
the debt
not
system.
so usurious.
Yeah.
For paper game.
Yeah. This is all for the paper game.
Provide you can print copies out and give them to your teams and they can.
And so their creation of the game is one way for you to assess like how are they understanding all these concepts that you're providing. Like discussion works, creation also works. They could present it, or you could just walk around and observe, or you could just have them play each other's games, and that's how you're ending it out. Where this team will play their game, we'll play their game, and then we'll compare like how we felt in those games.
One thing, I don't know whether that will make the programming a little bit too complicated for all of you. Just reflecting on what we have learned for the past two sessions. I mean, supply and demand of housing in aggregate do determine the cash that one can earn from building residential or commercial apartment. So whether if your game can monitor how many residential houses are built, if it is somewhat too much in proportion to other investment, then the cash earning can drop. Right? If it is too filled, then the cash earning will go up.
It's definitely not something that would go in for the digital version this summer, but it's totally something to think
It's
about.
something that
for the
could
next summer.
easily be built into the
Actually,
board game.
and I just got, so one of the other things that we're working on, that we'll be doing this summer while you all are out, I have a ton of city builder board games that we'll be reviewing. We'll be looking at creating city builder board games. So other games that do things like this, we're playing them basically just to mine them for new ideas, but also what would it be like if you ran a class like this, but we had the digital version and we had another game that's a board game that does something differently? What are the strengths and weaknesses for each? Yeah. One of the games we have is, I don't know how accurate it is, I want to play it with David. It's a Bay Area planning city planner game where you were trying to create housing for San Francisco based on real data that they have.
Whoa. Which is no land and really high prices.
Yeah. So based on how we play that game and some of the ideas, what you just described, it feels like that game is. But it's one of the things we'd like to do is like run a games for learning workshop for Dust in the fall for new students basically. Using games. David mentioned it. I put it in the proposal that I sent you all. Yeah, go
That's in the proposal.
No, I sent you the proposal for our next year, and that was one of the things we wanted to do.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Based on a suggestion of David's. I don't know if we're actually going to do it. I just want to do it.
Focus on this one.
Oh yeah.
But the whole point is to improve it.
All that is a way for us to
That is a way for us to do. That's how we do research.
I see. Got you.
Any other questions about how you would bring this into the classroom?
I think that the first couple of days will be pretty messy. You have to expect that. You have so many students don't speak fluent English and they're trying to figure this out. It's going to be pretty messy, but hopefully when the time goes, they're familiar, very quick. Chinese, Chinese kids big games. They figure out they move very, very fast.
You can do warm-ups in English. Start with the vocabulary lesson. Warm up with the key terms that are in the game, because everyone's familiar with that. Then play the
They'll be
game.
Chinese, always Chinese.
We can make them play it in English.
You can make them play it in English.
I think you should do the whole workshop will be in English, so that you start with the English vocabulary and you can do some activities with that, and then you play the game, and then from that game you then extend to, okay, this is our game world, and let's then introduce the real world using the same vocabulary, right?
Well, I think you're dealing with a group of counterparts. They are very familiar with games. As far as I know, you study very hard to get into college. Once you get into college, nothing to do. Because anything you have learned in high school is already repeated in the college. So most of the people, even in Beida, Tsinghua, they're playing games every day. So they are very proficient in gaming.
So is high school harder than college? Oh, okay.
That's how what I heard. So you want to get into good school, you have to study extremely hard for the entrance exam.
But once you're in, you're in.
Once you enter, then you just, oh, I'm getting hard, getting to Beida, and then Tsinghua, I don't have to study anymore. What's that?
Okay.
I spend all the time. No? Is that true?
Senior slump.
But he's not the typical. He's just a top. You get to go back to school, right? So he's the top of the top, cream of the crop, right?
No, I barely survived.
Huh?
I barely survived this.
Really? It's what I heard. People go to Tsinghua and they just play video games the whole day.
Sorry?
How about
Tsinghua University.
Qingdao? How about Qingdao University? The same thing? A lot of game playing?
Beer drinking.
That's just like an American college.
Yeah.
So they may find really elementary, although the concept may be alien to them. But they, I'm sorry, sorry, it's the truth. The operation of the game may be a little bit.
Oh, no, absolutely. Like, so, as an example, I just ran a test of a very basic adventure game at a high school at Lynn Vocational Tech High. Kids who self-identified as game players, they were really challenged with how to play the game. They didn't understand it. This is a pretty standard point-and-click adventure game. I click on a thing, I go there. I click on this other thing, and it's in my inventory. And for one, they're in an environment where games aren't right. Like, games don't fit in their classroom. So they're going to act differently when they're in the classroom. They're going to, at least, and these were kids in a classroom who were like, everything I do in the classroom is I'm either goofing off or I'm getting an A, but there's nowhere in between. And if I don't know how to play the game, then I'm no longer getting the A, so now I'm a bad student, and I've never been a bad student before. What's going on? And so they were really, really frustrated and upset by that I asked them to play this game. So you might get students who act like that. You don't know. Or you might get students who are really just like, we're just going to play the game, screw you, I don't care what you say, I'm just going to play the game.
They expect a lecturer to come and lecture, and they tell you they're playing games. That may be a cultural shock.
Yeah. So,
And people have really said, especially if you've been in school for 12 years, you get kind of rigidly set in what you expect to have happen in school. And so something unusual, that's scary.
But it's good that in the morning there will be lectures or lecture. Like for example, in the Mongolia trip, I will be every day in the morning, in the early part of the trip, so I can come in and fill the gap to do a little bit dancing in the morning, and then in the afternoon you can play a game. You'll be more relaxed.
One piece of advice when you're designing your curriculum, if you're going to include the game, make sure when people sit down to play the game that they realize you're going to have to discuss it afterwards.
Yes.
Make it clear that this is not break time. This is not sit down and play time. This is play the game, and we want you to enjoy playing the game. But then we're going to sit down and talk about your thought processes as you play the game, your experience of playing the game, and that will help warn the students that this is a classroom exercise. It may be a game and it may be fun, but it's a classroom exercise and they still need to take it seriously. But give them that warning that the discussion is going to follow the gameplay. That will help a little bit.
Do you think you feel comfortable running the game with such short training? Do you need a couple of more sessions to play the game? It's been about your time and our time.
Not more than 1 hour.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so we'll schedule one more, probably early May, so there'll be more progress
So,
on the
so
game.
Shinta, do they have to submit a proposed syllabus to us? Sure. Next week?
Scheduled for next week, yeah.
Whoa, are we meeting next week?
Yeah, we're meeting next Tuesday, I think, by when.
So they have a draft, so they discuss the syllabus, right?
Yeah, I think the session will be mainly about the syllabus.
Oh, so you'll have your syllabus when you meet with us again. We'll play the game one more time. We'll answer any of your questions. We'll help you with the syllabus.
We'll try to remember to bring the supplemental materials so you can decide which ones you might want to have. We'll certainly give you PDF versions of all the supplementals so that you can create them as needed.
And by then, our test protocol will have been approved, and we'll go over the test protocol.
Yeah.
So the team will organize yourself between now and next week to draft the proposal. The proposal that you saw in here, just suggest it. We are not saying that you have to follow the same amount. Wow, that's fast.
You guys have great meetings.
Yeah, so if your teams
I'll
meet
download
or
it.
talk somehow,
Okay, let me just do it. Yeah.
Yeah, each team take a tablet too.
There's only two teams.
There's only two
You know,
teams.
I can just find
Oh,
your
then you
MIT
pick two
for
per
rooms,
team.
that's fine. Because I have like your names here. I'll download it, it's fine.
If you want updates to the tablets, do you guys?
Give them updates later.
Well,
I already had it.
Because we're so
oh yeah, that's
timing-wise,
Timing-wise,
it'll
we're
be
gone.
by the
Yeah, okay.
We're not going to know what we're going to have.
We're not going to have to get that.
Yeah.
What's your number?
before you get, is it done?
Well, are you missing more about what this is that we have to do?
Oh, the next week,
Like, what
next week,
is
can
it?
you propose something like this?
Oh, sorry.
In a draft form, and then we
Okay.
discuss about it.
So just an outline.
It's not.
Yeah, so you can, if you have a chance to meet with your team or talk with them, you look at the really guidelines, and then you can also add what other activities that you would like to do, and then each team maybe introduce just the outline of what sort of activities you'd like to do.
But for the game part, it should be more than just gameplay and discussion. Think about
Yeah.
what actual mode of gameplay you're going to use on each time.
And for discussion, you want to have your topics.
Yeah,
for-
what are your learning goals
What
for
are
each
your
time you're playing the
goals,
game?
and what are you going to discuss? What are you going to ask? What questions are you going to ask them as far? Because if you ask the kids to discuss it, they'll just sit there and stare at you and stare at their tablets.
Wait,
then
do
you-
you want to keep the tablet?
Okay.
Should we need a charger for tablets?
Oh, yeah. Well, it takes mini USB or micro USB. You already have one.
Oh, yeah.
So we make,
Okay, it's fine, it's fine.
excuse me, we make it a little bit more complicated for you. Excuse me, we make it a little bit more complicated for you. On top of having the syllabus like this, and you in one session, just a few paragraphs saying what you're going to talk about, and what learning point that you want to talk about, very quickly. They're not meant together. For each of the session, it's morning session and after session. On the top of proposing the topic of that session, just write a paragraph or a few points about the learning points that you want to come across for your students. So what are what's the idea you want to convey to that people? And prepare to big presentation about the syllabus next time. Johnson, anything that you want to add?
No, basically, for that next session.
And bring your own expertise. If you have special skill, if you know how to bake cakes, or big American fries, or whatever thing, add into the syllabus. So you
You can have a game, but all lecture and no play doesn't make this something to be there, so you could think that they'll really, they will actually ask you things that you'll have to modify your time, because they'll be interested. They'll want to really hear about, in English, student life as an MIT student, life as a student in China. They'll be very, very interested in knowing, how did you get into MIT? But the thing is, when you use it as, and how can they get into it with
That's
the
right.
school?
I haven't finished it yet, but I checked in. A session or two, ask them to take the lead
If he already has plans for that,
of the top, they will tell you what they're going to tell you.
yes, I figured.
It takes a couple of sessions.
And you guys group
The day
this
of the
cross-cultural
session, we'll be on our own
topics
information.
and have discussion. But what you should
That's what I
also
figured.
do is also do
If you want
some of your interests. But they would you have your whole activities of the day. Maybe you at the end of the day. And so, for example,
My understanding was he was
Denise, you can
Talk about senior
you
house.
can bust a move, right? You bust a move, and they'll all bust moves.
Cool. Then hopefully
I mean,
clear that.
actually,
I
there's
have
no
a good idea. How to dare Chinese? How to dare
Well, they talk about that. They do have things. There's discussions of Chinese and Americans' definition of love.
Oh yeah.
I think it's
Probably related
Super interesting.
Yeah. Actually, in our event,
I want to go.
in April, which date is it? April 27th, that Wednesday, Chinese American cross-cultural communications. We talked about all those things.
It would be interesting to have them feel the difference between the size of an apartment in the US and the size of an apartment in China. Like we could use masking tape and say, like, this is how big it would be, this is how big it would be.
Although a Manhattan apartment versus a Chicago apartment, I mean, it's so much.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
True, but like there are only so many Lower East Side
I suppose
apartments,
that's
you know,
yeah.
like really in the whole country.
Yeah, fair.
Are these as lectures set up or?
This is just a suggestive. You can change anything you want. You can actually propose more or don't want get perfection. We're talking about inviting some the faculty to talk about their own problem.
Yeah. Besides the PowerPoint, we can talk about session. Are there more like resources we can look up?
Yeah, there's some online courses we're trying to recommend to you. For example, there's an online entrepreneurship course at MIT.
Is it part of the on the website? Or is there something here? Is it
You
part of the
can find an MA.
Okay.
Can you email out all the slides that have been shared with us?
Do we want Thursday morning?
Yeah,
It's on the website.
If you go even yours from last time?
I don't know.
Yeah, they're on the
Okay, so
stl.mit.edu.
Okay, right.
Yeah, it's like.